Guess where I'm going to show you how to hike to in this video? Here's a hint. Josephine Peak here in Angeles National Forest. It's a pretty underrated peak. It's not the highest peak. It's not the most spectacular peak, but it does have a ton of prominence. The views are excellent from up here. You can see most of Angeles National Forest from here, as well as downtown LA. And it's a nice 8-mile climb. There's a couple ways to do it. I'll show you the way up Colby Canyon, which is my favorite. And it's about, I don't know, a little over 2,000 feet of climbing to get up here. When you get up here, the views are spectacular. You can see behind me over there, Strawberry Peak, and you can see all the way to Mount Baldy, again, downtown LA, everywhere. Now, if you want to do the hike, as always, I have a full guide on HikingGuy.com that has the parking information, maps, and all the logistical stuff. And if you're digging the video, if you're enjoying it, if you find it helpful, if you could do me a big favor and just click that little thumbs up button, it helps me out a ton. So thank you. It also helps other people find this video and hopefully see it and do the hike safely. All right, guys, let me show you around the peak real quick, and then I'll show you how to hike up here. So over there, we have Pacifico Mountain. That's Waterman, Twin Peaks. Kind of in the hazy distance there is Mount Baldy, Strawberry Peak, Mount Lawler, Mount Wilson, Disappointment. Down there in the haze is downtown LA, Saddleback Mountain, Orange and Riverside down there. And then over here is Mount Lukens. So yeah, lots to see up here. And if you do the hike, you can see what I see. All right, guys, let me show you what it's like. All right, so we're going to start out at the Colby Canyon Trailhead. There's another way to do the hike up a fire road, but I find this hike or this route much more enjoyable on a single track trail for most of the way. But here's the trail board. There's limited parking, but it never really gets too full here. And in the beginning, we're going to kind of head down into the canyon, and there's a little bit of a downhill. It's really beautiful, and if it's just rain, there might be some water here. I've never been here when there's water, but I'm sure it does happen. I've seen evidence of it by the stream bed. But anyway, we're going to go down a little bit, and then you're going to start going uphill through the canyon. And it's mostly a climb. There's a little flat section in the middle, but the trail in the beginning is a little bit rough, but then you can see it gets really well graded and well maintained. There's retaining walls here. It's a pleasure to hike up. Eventually, you're going to see the dominant landmark in the distance there, which is Strawberry Peak. We're going to be seeing that the entire way to the top. And if you've hiked that one before, it will give you a new perspective on the peak and why they call it Strawberry Peak. Now, at this point, we're coming up. You can see on this ridge the trail unfolding in front of you and the switchbacks above. Also, nice views down into the canyon as we go along this little ridge here. And then right after that, we're going to start going through a section of it's kind of lush, but there are these big damaged trees. The 2009 station fire really clobbered this area and most of the western part of Angeles National Forest. Now we're going to start climbing up at some gradual switchbacks. You can see the trail and the canyon down below where we came up. And, you know, it's steep, but it's doable. It's not crazy steep. And then you're going to get a little bit of a breather before the next section, which is right there in front of us, unfolding on that hillside. Those are the next switchbacks that we have. And this part is probably the steepest part, but you do get the nice views. And if you look back, you can see San Gabriel Peak and Mount Disappointment, some of the other peaks down there towards Mount Wilson. But we're going to keep going up, and eventually these switchbacks will end, and you'll come to this concrete thing. Some people call this a helipad. It's actually a cistern. It was built to measure the water around here. And if you want, you can go up to the top of it and check it out. There's a hole there where the water collects and it's angled in. It's not actually used anymore, but there are other structures like this in Angeles National Forest that are used. And I'll put a link to those on the website. There's the trail we came up, but let's just go back down to the saddle, which is called Josephine Saddle. And off to the right, there's a trail over to Strawberry Meadow and Strawberry Peak eventually, if you want to go that route. But we're going to make the left and go on a flat section here along the ridge line, where you get these incredible views, I guess to the north and northeast into Angeles National Forest. It's Mount Gleason in the distance. There's actually one of those cisterns on Mount Gleason too. But we're going to go straight along this ridge, and eventually it's going to twist around, and if you look up ahead of you, we're going to see Josephine Peak right there, and that's where we're going to climb up eventually. Probably got about 2 miles to go at this point. Now, at some point you're going to come around, you're going to get nice views to the south. You're going to be able to see downtown LA and some of the peaks down in Orange County and Riverside County. But otherwise, right after that, we're going to continue, and this is where the Forest Service Road joins in from the left. Now, people do hike up this. There are mountain bikes coming up there, and you can do the hike that way too, but I like it better this way. Here's some of those nice views up in the Angeles National Forest, and then back to Strawberry Peak. And kind of see it looks like a strawberry, an upside down strawberry from this angle, which you can't see when you actually hike Strawberry Peak. Now from here on out, we're going to go up the Fire Road. It's pretty mellow. You can see it's not a real ugly version of the Fire Road. It's pretty nice and it's well graded, and you can pretty much cruise up this even though it is uphill. The grading is nice. You're going to stay in the main road. There are some little plowed areas and some smaller use trails. We're just going to stay on this main road as it does a couple of switchbacks up towards the top. And as you climb up, at some point you'll be able to look down and see the switchbacks. From this angle, it looks a lot tougher than it actually feels. But, you know, you'll be fine. This part's relatively easy compared to the first part of the climb. And look at this, a helicopter totally buzzing me at this point. This was the day after they opened the national forest up because of the fire restrictions, so the helicopter was flying around looking for fires. Towards the top, you're going to be able to see Mount Lukens over on the right-hand side. I have a guide for that on the website too, if you'd like to climb that. It's a neat one. It's the highest point in the city of LA. And almost at the top, there's this little sign holder there. There's I think what's an old helicopter landing area. And then from here, it's just a little bit of single track until we reach the summit, where there's a little weather station, a little monitoring station, and we're going to come up to the summit area. You can see the views are pretty great. You can also see these concrete squares. There used to be a fire tower here that burned in a fire in the 1970s. For some reason, there's a little bookshelf here now with some signs, a little lost and found. But from here, you can see Mount Pacifico. You can, there's Strawberry Peak, Mount Wilson with the antennas, and then all the way down to downtown LA. So that's it, Josephine Peak. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, again, if you could leave me a thumbs up, I appreciate it. And if you stick around for a second, I'll show you what the hike looks like on a 3D map so you can kind of understand where the hike goes and the landscape of the hike. Otherwise, guys, I'll see you out on the trails. Bye. All right, here we go. It is an out and back hike. We're starting from Colby Canyon. And here, just as an aside, you can see the Forest Service Road, which also goes up there, and then we joined it up there. But the parking is right off of Angeles Crest Highway here. We go up through this narrower canyon. You can see it starts to climb. Let me angle this up a little bit so you get a better perspective. There we go. This was that ridge that we were on, and from there we could see Strawberry Peak, which is right there. It sort of dominates your field of view as you're hiking up. Then we have this flat section, and then here's that hillside with the switchbacks going up. And then here we are at Josephine Saddle, and then from there we make the hard left. And then here we are at the saddle. This says Strawberry Saddle, but it's actually Josephine Saddle. That's the Google Maps incorrect one. We have the flatter section along the ridge line here, and here you can see over here all the great views we have. We come around this bend, and that's the point where you can see the peak, Josephine Peak up here, and it's also the point where if we swing this around, you can see downtown LA in the distance over here. And then we're going to climb up. The road joins right over here, and now we're on the Forest Service Road. We have a couple of these switchbacks up until we get to the summit. Here we wind around, and we can see Mount Lukens over here, right over there. And then we twist around, and eventually we're up at the summit. So that's the hike, and when you're done here, you just go back down the way you came.